Hey everybody, welcome back to Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com and here on the YouTube channel. And this time out, we're going to take a look and listen to another piece of gear by Wes Audio. This is the NG76, which is a fully rack-mounted 1176 with a bunch of modern feature and some cool flexibility. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Also go out to mixingmusicanalog.com. We're running a special on some mixing services this month, so check that out, as well as the 2 hybrid mixing courses that are in the description. You're really going to dig them. Check those out today. So before we get started, full disclosure, no, this is not a sponsored video. I paid for this with my own money from Sweetwater, just like you would, about 3 or 4 months ago, and I really love this compressor. So Wes Audio doesn't even know I'm making this video, although we've done some work together in the past and some other things if you've been following the channel, but this one is all on Uncle Dave. I paid for this, I own it, and I love it. So I got a piece of paper here with 13 features that I love about this NG76 by Wes Audio. I'm going to read off the features, then we're going to walk through the plugin. If you don't see it on the screen already, you're going to see the hardware. Got a camera over there. We'll take a look at the plugin. We're going to listen to it on some drums, some bass, and acoustic guitar. Okay, so let's talk about the 13 features that I really dig about this. And a lot of these features are not part or above and beyond additional features that are not a part of an 1176, a traditional universal audio one or any other clone or copy of an 1176. A lot of these features are included that are not part of the original, which is really cool. Now, the first thing about this, feature number 1, is like with all Wes Audio gear, it is fully analog. This is an analog box that is digitally controlled with the plugin. Okay, that's what makes the Wes Audio stuff so fantastic, is everything's 100% recallable. You don't have to touch the stuff on the rack. You don't have to go over there and twist the knobs. You can do everything right from the DAW, right from the plugin, or if you feel like you want to go over and touch the knobs, you can do that as well. This unit has 24 dB of input headroom. It's using Car and Hill transformers on both the input and the output. We have a wet dry knob, number 4 feature, and that is part of this. That's not part of an original 1176. We have the all buttons mode, which is part of an 1176. That's feature number 5. Feature number 6, we have the total harmonic distortion circuit, the THD circuit, which again is something that's unique to the Universal Audio ecosystem and their products, and it sounds fantastic. We will listen to that. You can also, because it's digitally controlled with the plugin, you can save presets and settings in your plugin, which is great. There are 2 modes or 2 versions of the 1176 that's made here or modeled here. We have the Rev G, which is a little bit more of a modern sound, and Rev F, which is more of a vintage sound, and we're going to listen to the differences in a bit. We have a high and low internal sidechain filters, which again is not part of the original 1176 design. This is added stuff that makes this thing very flexible. Number 10 features, we have also, on top of the total harmonic distortion circuit, we have a complete mode called the saturation mode, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Kind of works a little like the iron circuit on the NG bus compressor, which I really like. Feature number 11, you can fully automate any parameter on this thing because it's all done with a plugin, just like any plugin, which is really cool. Feature number 12 is the price point. This thing brand new is just under $1,400 US. A real 1176, like say Universal Audio, is like $2,400. And this thing has a lot more flexibility. So for the money, you get a lot of compressor here and a lot of flexibility for the money. Check the link in the description box if you want to pick yours up at Sweetwater today. It's an affiliate link. Thank you so much in advance. I love you guys. And then last but not least, I've had some personal experience with this, is the customer support over at Wes Audio is really, really great. With a couple of their other products, I had some questions about having things set up, like on the NG leveler and stuff. I would email their tech support and they get back to me within 24 hours. They were able to help me really well. I've had to use them, I think, twice. And I gotta say the Wes Audio tech support and customer support is really helpful. I would put them on par with like the customer service you get at Sweetwater. So that's another added benefit. So you're getting really good customer support there. Thank you, Wes Audio, for helping me out in the past. Didn't need any help on the NG76, but I needed some help with the NG leveler, and that video's on our channel too. You'll want to check that out. So before we listen to it on drums, let's take a look at the plugin. I'll walk you through some of the things we just talked about here and show you the saturation mode. So again, we have a beautiful interface here. It looks just like an 1176, right? We have our input and our output, and these 2 knobs, when you go into saturation mode, turn into different functions, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We have our attack time, slow and slow to fast, release, slow to fast, pretty standard. We have our mix wet dry knob, which is really cool. Then above here, we have our internal sidechain filters, which is great. We have the high frequencies and low frequencies. Now right above the mix knob, look what happens when I click on one of these buttons. You'll see we get a graphic representation of what's happening internally with the sidechain so you can visually see it. And the other great thing is you don't have to choose the low or the high. You can use this in any combination that you want. So you can create your own curves if you choose to do so, and you can see it on that little graph. And then after a couple of seconds, the graph just disappears. It's like magic. Awesome, right? That's really cool. Underneath that, we have our saturation mode here. If we hit saturation, watch what happens over here on the left-hand side of the plugin. So now this turns the input into the drive knob and the output as a trim knob. We still have our wet dry feature here, but it disables the compressor entirely, and it's just using saturation mode, which we're going to listen to. If I click that back, it goes right back to regular old 1176 land. Then we have our mode switch here. We have vintage and modern. Again, the modern is kind of a little bit more, to me, it has a little bit more of an open punch, a little bit more aggressive. The vintage is a little bit more rounded, a little bit more warm. We'll listen to that. Then again, in addition to the saturation mode, we have the total harmonic distortion circuit. It could be in low, high, or off, which is great. We have our ratio buttons over here, which is cool. You have the all buttons mode. If you want to go all buttons, we can do that as well. And then you can toggle that on and off here like this. Okay, so there's 4, 8, 12, 20, all buttons mode. And then we can bypass it here. And you can hear, well, you won't be able to hear, but I can hear the relays turning on and off in the hardware, so this is great. And that's it. Okay, so let's listen to this on some drums. What I have here is I have just a kick snare and a set of very close room mics about, I don't know, 6 feet off the ground, pointed directly at the drum kit. All coming down to this bus. We're running in some mono. This is a mono compressor. If you had 2 of these, you can link them together in stereo, but we only have 1. So let's listen to this on drums. We'll keep it on the modern setting for now, and let's just kind of go between modern and vintage, and let's hear the difference here. We'll do about 3 dB of compression or so. Here we go. Yeah, so I feel like the modern setting has a little bit more of an open sound. It's a little more pointy on the kick drum, and on the vintage mode, it's maybe a little bit more pillowy, a little bit more rounded off. It just sounds a little bit more warm, which is great. I mean, it's subtle. It's subtle for sure, but it's certainly, you can hear the change. Now let me just take the total harmonic distortion circuit in and out on both modes so you can hear that. So what I like about all the Wes Audio gear with this total harmonic distortion circuit, what I love about it, it's not overly done. A lot of times I'll use plugins especially, but even in hardware, we've done some on the channel here where you can only use a very small amount on tap and then it just becomes unusable. This is even usable at the highest setting. It's enough of a jump where it's not super subtle, but it doesn't overcook it, if you will. I like that. Let's try that same thing on the vintage setting. Yeah, even on the vintage setting, it sounds great. And I failed to mention that there's no bus compression, there's no master bus processing, everything is bypassed. You're just hearing the compressor in the console. That's it. So now again, let's go back to modern here. We got our side chain here that we can use. So say we want to take out a little bit of that low end here. Sounds great. I mean, it just, I love it. I'm telling you, I love all this Wes Audio gear, man. I mean, for the money, this thing is fantastic. It just sounds great. Okay, let's go to the saturation mode here on drums. Now, we go to saturation, there's no compression happening, but we're able to drive the saturation and use the trim control to offset the volume. So here we go, let's try this. We'll start on the modern mode, modern style. Sounds awesome. Now, the other thing I didn't mention here is you see this little, near the input meter, this thing called sweet spot. This is for the saturation mode. They give you kind of like a little bracket here of where you want to kind of be to kind of hit the sweet spot of the saturation circuit. So I got the faders pushed enough to where we're hitting right in the middle there. Sounds really, really great. Let's keep going. We'll go to the vintage, vintage style compression on this. So yeah, you could push this thing all the way, and it's a little much when you push it all the way on this particular material, but again, it just sounds good. Now remember, when you're in the saturation mode, the compressor is disabled, right? So if you didn't want it for compression, you just wanted a color box, a saturation box, again, here's a versatile piece of gear that you can get more than just a compressor. It's like having two pieces of gear wrapped up in one, which is really, really nice. And then to get out of saturation mode, you just hit that, and that's it. You're back into regular compression mode. So with the magic of TV, let me break here for a second. We're gonna get this down on a pair of acoustic guitars, and let's see what it sounds like on that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back here. So we have a pair of acoustics coming down, again, down to this bus here. No other processing, a little bit of EQ. And we got that here. So let's take a listen to it on acoustic guitar. Again, we'll start on the modern mode, and we'll just kind of dial in some compression, and we'll start flipping through all the buttons. Here we go. Yeah, so just like with the drums, on the vintage mode, it gets a little less sparkly. Modern's a little bit more open, a little bit more sparkly. Let's stick on modern for a minute here. Let's go through some of the sidechain filters and I'll add the total harmonic distortion. Here we go. So the THD sounds great. Again, it just adds a little bit of excitement to it. I mean, I love that their gear has all this. And whenever I'm using Wes Audio gear, I am always using the total harmonic distortion circuit. Not always on high, sometimes on the medium or the low setting, but it just sounds great. It just makes things sound a little bit better, a little bit more exciting. Let's bump over to the saturation mode really quick here. Okay, let's see what that does with an acoustic. So on the acoustic, if you jack up the drive too much and then add the THD in there, it gets to be a little too crispy. But just with a little bit of drive, again, it gives that little bit of hair on there. Sounds really nice. Yeah, so we can take something like an acoustic. Sometimes acoustics, these ones are recorded pretty well, but sometimes acoustic guitars will get the kind of brittle sounding, the recordings, or maybe they just sound a little sterile and they just don't have any personality. This is a nice way to add a little bit of personality to it, but to not overhype it, you know? Let's go back to compression mode. Sounds really good. Again, super flexible, super versatile. It's why I love it. And the fact that I didn't have to go over there and touch the gear once. I could do everything from the plug-in. The gear though, the knobs are touch sensitive. So if I come over to them, just so you can see the screen and you can see the hardware here, if I touch the knobs here, they're all touch sensitive. As soon as I touch them, you see they light up, and I can turn these up or down and you'll see the plug-in changes along with it. Okay, they're all touch sensitive here. which is great. So if you want to go and you want to touch the gear, or if it's up in an area where it's convenient, great. If not, you could do it all from the plugin, which is what I do. Okay, last thing I want to do is maybe, let's check this out like maybe a bass. That might be kind of cool, especially with the saturation mode here. So give me a second to patch that in and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So we have a bass routed down here to the bus, mono. Here we go. Let's start on the modern mode and let's work around the horn, shall we? So on this particular bass, I like the vintage a little bit more than the modern. Again, it's really nice, and this is a pretty aggressively played bass part, and it just kind of controls it really well. I just like what it does. And again, the total harmonic distortion circuit is great. Let's go over to saturation mode here. Let's see what we have here with saturation mode on the vintage setting. Again, sounds great. So yeah, if you drive it too much with the drive knob and then put the total harmonic distortion on high, it gets a little hairy. But you know, there may be a time and a place where you call for that. In the mix, it may sound really good. So that is a quick look and listen to the Wes Audio NG76. Again, for the money, you can't beat it. I mean, for 1,400 bucks, you're really kind of getting two versions of the 1176 in one. The fact that it's all digitally controlled with the plugin, and there's a ton of flexibility. We only scratched the surface. The only shame about having this unit is it's only one. If you only have one and it's in mono, you got to kind of pick and choose your battles of where you'd want this. I think this would be really nice to have a pair of these. A pair of these would be great, because then you could put them on stereo buses and stuff. Like I could see this on a stereo drum bus or something like that, or even parallel tracks would sound really good. And I believe at Sweetwater, they also sell them in a package. You get a little bit of money off, a match pair if you buy them together. So you can buy them so they were built as a set to be together to make sure that they're all, you know, dialed in exactly the same. So again, check the link in the description box below if you want to check out one of the Wes Audio NG76s. And again, I'll leave the link for the whole Wes Audio page at Sweetwater, because on this channel, we've done a lot of their gear demos. They don't have a bad piece yet. I mean, I think all their compressors, I have all of them. I've had their EQs in here. We did some tests on those. I really didn't need them, so I didn't keep them, but their EQs are fantastic. and the NG leveler is off the charts. Make sure you check out that video about having recall automation and an analog desk for a very reasonable price. So I'm gonna leave the link so you can check out all the Wes Audio stuff. And again, it's not a sponsored video. I don't get anything for this. I bought my unit, but I wanna pass it along to you because I'm a big fan of their stuff. So thank you so much for checking out this video and joining me today for the Wes Audio NG76. Let me know in the comments below if you own any Wes Audio gear, or if you're thinking about picking up an NG76, or what you think about Wes Audio in general. And until the next video, I've been Dave with Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.